He wasn't just dominant, he was terrifying. A wrecking ball with the mind of a chess master. When LeBron James took his talents to South Beach, the NBA didn't just get a superstar in a new jersey, it got a storm. For 4 years, Miami witnessed a version of LeBron that wasn't just chasing greatness, he was rewriting it. But just how good was Miami Heat LeBron, really? The truth is far more unbelievable than most remember. And once you see the numbers, the impact, and the destruction he left in his wake, you might realize he wasn't just the best player in the league. He might have been the most unstoppable force in modern basketball history. It all started with one of the most controversial decisions in sports history. The decision. LeBron James. The hometown hero of Cleveland sat across from Jim Gray on national television and uttered 7 words that sent shockwaves through the NBA. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. In that moment, everything changed. LeBron wasn't just switching teams. He was joining forces with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, 2 All-Stars, one already an NBA champion. The move instantly turned the Miami Heat into the most hated team in the league. People felt betrayed, cheated, jerseys were burned, rivalries were ignited. LeBron had transformed overnight from a beloved superstar to the league's villain. And that pressure, that hatred created something new in him. Something dangerous. See, before Miami, LeBron was already great. A 2-time MVP in Cleveland. A freak athlete with impossible vision and raw dominance. But in Miami, that's where he evolved. Where the fire of criticism forged him into something much scarier. A cold, calculating killer with no mercy. The first season didn't go as planned. Miami stumbled early. Chemistry was off, and in the 2011 finals, LeBron crumbled under the weight of expectation. He averaged just 17.8 points per game, his lowest in a playoff series, and looked lost as Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks stunned the Heat in 6 games. The world laughed. The haters danced. They said LeBron couldn't win when it mattered. But that failure, that embarrassment, it was the beginning of a storm. Because after 2011, Miami LeBron became something entirely different. He went back to the lab, worked on the post game, improved his efficiency, tightened his handle, polished his jumper, and most importantly, he stopped caring about outside noise. The next 3 seasons were a different story. LeBron wasn't just dominant. He was methodical, precise, like a machine built for basketball destruction. From 2011 to 2014, the Heat were the most feared team in the NBA, and LeBron was their heart. He won back-to-back MVPs in 2012 and 2013. He led Miami to 4 straight NBA Finals. He became the league's best scorer and the most versatile defender. There was no weakness, no flaw. And while many players dominate through sheer skill or overwhelming athleticism, LeBron in Miami had both. It wasn't just about the highlights. It was the efficiency, the control, the way he could impact every possession without even scoring. In 2012, he shot over 53% from the field as a wing player. That number kept climbing. In 2013, he averaged 27 points per game on 56% shooting. That's not just elite, that's absurd. That level of dominance while carrying the load on both ends of the floor, practically unheard of. And let's talk about defense. Miami LeBron was arguably the most terrifying defensive force in the league. He could guard every position 1 through 5 and do it well. He would shut down point guards, bully big men, chase down shooters, and erase shots at the rim like a shadow lurking in transition. His chase down blocks became iconic. His help side rotations, surgical. If you were trying to score near LeBron in those years, you were in trouble. But here's the thing. As good as the stats are, they still don't fully explain what made Miami LeBron so dangerous. It was the control. He didn't just play the game. He manipulated it. LeBron could slow the tempo or speed it up. He could score when needed or find shooters in rhythm. He could call out opposing plays before they even happened, reading the floor like a grandmaster reading a chessboard. He knew where everyone was supposed to be, including the other team. And that level of IQ, paired with freakish physical ability, made him almost impossible to stop. This was the LeBron who could drop 45 points in a must-win Game 6 in Boston, with the coldest stare in sports history, and crush the Celtics dynasty in one night. This was the LeBron who erased a 3-2 finals deficit against the Spurs and brought Miami a second straight title, with one of the greatest clutch shots in NBA history, courtesy of Ray Allen, yes, but made possible by LeBron's 32-10-11 performance in Game 6 and a dominant 37 points in Game 7. By the time the 2011 NBA season rolled around, LeBron James wasn't just on a mission, he was possessed. Every night, he walked into arenas like a man with a score to settle. No more smiling, no more excuses, no more next year. The league had mocked him, doubted him, and stripped him of the narrative he had spent years building. So he decided to silence them not with words, but with total domination. The 2012 season was shortened due to the lockout, but LeBron didn't waste a single second. He averaged 27.1 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 6.2 assists per game, all while shooting 53% from the field. That kind of efficiency from a perimeter player was already rare, but when you added in his defense, leadership, and ability to play every position on the court, it was clear. LeBron James was operating on another level. And then came the playoffs. This wasn't the hesitant LeBron from 2011. This was a cold-blooded assassin. In the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics with Miami down 3-2, facing elimination in Boston, LeBron delivered one of the most iconic performances in NBA history. No smile, no emotion, just destruction. Game 6, 45 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 73% shooting. It wasn't just the numbers, it was the way he did it. Fadeaways, bully drives, mid-range pull-ups. It was a man possessed, with a look in his eyes that told the world, I'm not losing tonight. And he didn't. Miami would go on to beat Boston in Game 7. And in the finals, they faced a young, hungry Oklahoma City Thunder team led by Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. A future dynasty, or so people thought. But LeBron wasn't interested in future stories. He was writing the present. He averaged 28.6 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 7.4 assists in the series. He shut down KD in key moments. He orchestrated the offense like a maestro. And when the Heat won in 5 games, the image of LeBron on the floor, clutching his first NBA championship, wasn't just relief, it was vindication. But here's the scary part. That wasn't even his peak. The true peak of Miami LeBron? That came in 2013. What LeBron did during the 2012 and 13 season was nothing short of superhuman. This was LeBron. In his final form, a fusion of brute strength, peak athleticism, basketball genius, and total confidence. He averaged 26.8 points, 8.0 rebounds, and 7.3 assists on a staggering 56.5% shooting. He flirted with 40% from 3. He was the league's best defender and the most efficient scorer. He could post up bigs, blow by guards, and hit step-backs in crunch time. And he made it look easy. The Heat went on a legendary 27-game winning streak, the second longest in NBA history, and LeBron was the engine behind it all. He had a 6-game stretch shooting over 70% from the field, as a wing player. That's not basketball, that's video. Game stuff. But the regular season was just the appetizer. The real test came in the 2013 NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and a young Kawhi Leonard. A dynasty with the brains and the execution to challenge anyone, even Miami's Big Three. The series was a battle. San Antonio pushed Miami to the brink. In Game 6, the Heat were seconds away from elimination. And then, the shot. Ray Allen's Tepetseti. Corner 3 is what people remember. But that shot only happened because LeBron willed the team back into position. He scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. He hit 2 massive threes to close the gap. He dragged Miami from the edge of despair. And in Game 7, he delivered again. 37 points, 12 rebounds, 5 three-pointers, Finals MVP. And that win? It's sealed. One of the most dominant 2-year stretches in NBA history. But here's where the suspense kicks in. Despite all the glory, the MVPs, the titles, the records, something was changing. The wear and tear, the expectations, the weight of being the hero and the villain. Miami LeBron was starting to feel it. And in 2014, cracks began to show. Not in his game, but in the system around him. The Heat were still elite, but the NBA had started to shift. New contenders were rising, and the margin for error was shrinking. Miami LeBron was still great, unbelievably great, but the days of perfection were numbered. After the triumphant 2013 finals, the Miami Heat and LeBron James seemed unstoppable. But the 2013-14 season would prove to be a harsh reminder that even the greatest forces can face their limits. This season was a roller coaster, filled with moments of brilliance, but also signs of vulnerability. It was a season where the unstoppable began to feel the weight of expectations and wear and tear. LeBron came into the season still at the top of his game. His stats were impressive. 27.1 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 6.3 assists per game, all while shooting an efficient 56.7% from the field. But there was something different. The energy wasn't quite the same. The Heat still had a formidable lineup with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh by his side, but cracks were beginning to show in the teams. Chemistry and dominance. The biggest challenge wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The super team narrative had turned into a double-edged sword. Every game was scrutinized, every mistake magnified. Miami was no longer the underdog, but the hunted. Opponents came hungry, ready to dethrone the reigning champs. And LeBron, who once thrived under pressure, was now carrying not just his own burden, but the weight of a team and a city's expectations. The playoffs began with high hopes, but the Heat faced stiff competition. The first round against the Charlotte Bobcats was tougher than expected, and the second round series with the Brooklyn Nets pushed Miami to 6 games. Then came the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers, a grueling 7-game. War marked by physicality and strategic battles. LeBron's leadership shone through, but the series took a toll. Finally, the Heat reached the NBA Finals again, this time against the San Antonio Spurs, the same team they had beaten in 2013. The Spurs came prepared, motivated by a desire for revenge. It was a clash of styles. Miami's power and speed versus San Antonio's precision and teamwork. The series was tight and intensely competitive, but the Spurs ultimately prevailed in 5 games. The Heat's reign was over. LeBron's performance was solid, but not at the otherworldly level that had defined his Miami years. It was a tough loss, signaling the end of an era for Miami's Big Three. Beyond the court, the implications were clear. The Dream Team had run its course. Pat Riley's vision of a dominant, championship-winning trio had succeeded beyond expectations. But the sacrifices, pressure, and physical toll were immense. LeBron had given everything to Miami, and in return, he had 2 championships and countless unforgettable moments. Yet, the Miami chapter was closing. What followed surprised many fans and analysts: LeBron's decision to return to Cleveland. This wasn't just a homecoming. It was a declaration that his journey had evolved. Miami was the place where he proved himself, where he grew from a young superstar into a legendary champion. But it was also the place where he realized he needed to write the next chapter of his legacy on his own terms. Looking back, the Miami Heat years weren't just about the titles or the stats. They were about transformation. They were about a player who faced doubt, criticism, and pressure head-on, and emerged a champion. LeBron's Miami era was a story of redemption, growth, and ultimate triumph. But the question remains, how good was Miami LeBron actually? In the next section, we'll dive into the numbers, the impact, and the lasting legacy that those 4 years left on basketball history, and why, even today, Miami LeBron stands as one of the most incredible versions of the game's greatest player. When trying to measure how good LeBron James was during his Miami Heat years, numbers are an essential piece of the puzzle, but they don't tell the whole story. Still, they give us a powerful window into just how dominant he was. From 2010 to 2014, LeBron didn't just perform, He redefined what it meant to be an all-around superstar in the modern NBA. Let's start with the basics. Over those 4 seasons in Miami, LeBron averaged around 26.9 points per game on an impressive 54.5% shooting from the field. That's elite efficiency for someone who took on the enormous scoring load night after night. But scoring was only part of the equation. He also averaged roughly 7.1 rebounds and 6.9 assists per game, numbers that reflect his versatility and ability to impact every facet of the game. What made Miami LeBron truly special was his consistency. He delivered, night in and night out, even against the toughest defenses in the league. His player efficiency rating, PER, which summarizes a player's overall statistical contribution, was among the highest in the NBA each year in Miami, often above 30, which is an elite benchmark. To put it simply, Miami LeBron was one of the most efficient, productive players in basketball history during this stretch. Defense was another key piece. Before Miami, LeBron had been criticized for his defensive effort, but in the Heat system under coach Erik Spoelstra, he transformed into a lockdown defender. His length, speed, and basketball IQ made him a nightmare for opposing guards and forwards alike. He earned multiple all-defensive first-team honors during these years, showing that his greatness wasn't just offensive flair, it was complete dominance. Perhaps the most thrilling aspect of Miami LeBron was his ability to elevate his Miami's game in the biggest moments. The 2012 and 2013 NBA Finals showcased this perfectly. In those series, he averaged nearly 30 points, over 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game, while taking on the toughest matchups and most intense pressure. His clutch performances, especially in Game 6 of the 2012 Finals and the epic Game 7 against the Pacers in 2013, cemented his reputation as a player who thrives when the stakes are highest. Beyond raw numbers, LeBron's Miami years reshaped the NBA landscape. He wasn't just a scorer or a playmaker. He was a leader who molded a team culture around winning and accountability. His presence demanded the best from his teammates, Dwyane Wade, Chris Bosh, and role players alike. Miami wasn't just about talent. It was about chemistry, toughness, and unselfish basketball. However, some critics argued that Miami LeBron's greatness was boosted by the super team context. They pointed out that sharing the floor with, 2 other All-Stars naturally helped him in ways he couldn't replicate alone. It's a fair argument, but it misses the bigger picture. No player in history has ever had a perfect environment handed to them. Every team has challenges, and LeBron's Miami Heat faced theirs in the form of intense scrutiny, fierce rivalries, and relentless pressure to deliver titles every season. Another point of debate is the impact of the 2011 Finals loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Many say that Miami LeBron's reputation took a hit because of that series, where he seemed to struggle under pressure. Yet, what followed was a dramatic comeback. A 2012 championship and back-to-back titles that erased doubts and showed his growth as a competitor and clutch performer. Statistically and mentally, Miami LeBron was a powerhouse who not only put up incredible numbers, but also made his teammates better and carried a team through the toughest battles. His time in Miami was a critical chapter in the story of his career. A period where he didn't just prove his skill, but forged an identity as a champion and a leader. In the next section, we'll explore the legacy of Miami LeBron, not just in terms of trophies or stats, but how those years changed the game forever, influencing players, teams, and the culture of basketball worldwide. What does his Miami run really mean in the grand story of LeBron James and the NBA? That's where things get even more fascinating.